Greetings, as I, Tantasnar Van Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome, one and all. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Are you ready to dive back into Golarion, the Pathfinder role-playing games world? I certainly am. I'm going to be talking about something that's a little short today, but an interesting topic. The human ethnicity of Arcadians. We'll dive into it in a minute, but I'll just give my normal kind of spiel shout-outs now. So, hey, remember, if you're joining me live on Twitch, you can always say hi over there, or if you're joining me later on YouTube, when the video is finally published up over there, remember to do the algorithm anti-stuff, like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. So, have anybody played an Arcadian out there, like, as an ethnicity? Because I'm interesting to know, because there have been some adventures that have dealt with the area of Arcadia, and we do know some of these subgroups of the Arcadian people. It's just the sheer fact is that with the amount of Arcadia that's a question mark, there is still so many details missing. And I think that's an important thing to talk about. So why don't we dive into it all today, because we do have some basic information. I do have some sources. Again, I think I will say to this one, I would really love some more deeper sources here. We got the TNZ book. Let's get an Arcadian book. That would be really cool. Or like a book on even just one part of it. Is that not working? Oh, so the Inner Sea Races, of course, does deal with that from first edition. And the Inner Sea World Guide do talk about the Arcadian people, and same with Distant Shores. That's really our sources for what we know on Arcadia and their human species, the human people from there, the human subset, cultural subset, physical subset to a degree. It's that kind of thing that if you're living in a region, you culturally, physically adapt to that region, over thousands of years. We've seen it with our people, humans, I'm very much of European descent. People from different regions of the world look different. Hey, they've had thousands and thousands of generations to adapt to those areas. Same with Golarion. So that's what I'm talking about. So this is the main image I'm going to be using for today, pretty much the only image, because it's of a Malek woman. I'm going to butcher this name, try not to. Rakhak Senwe. Rakhak Senwe. So it is a figure that we know from some of the Golarion lore and such, but she's a venture captain in the Pathfinder Lodge in the Arcadian settlement of Port Valen. We do have other images of her, but this is one that we have. When we get there, it's one that I can find online that deals with the Arcadian people. Alright, so, Arcadians. It's not really a great name for them because, similar to TNZ, to a place like in Casmaron, especially with things like the Druid area, there are a lot of what we could, or even like in Grun sometimes, for like Wongi people, there are sub-ethnicities, which really might be ethnicities on their own, but we kind of lump them together. And it's the same way here. There's a lot of very different and unique people in Arcadia, but they are lumped together. It's the continent, but there are hundreds of unique cultures and ethnicities that technically exist that are similar to many areas, where we can kind of break down things like Z and all these other places. Hey, it's sort of like how in other places now we have combinations. The Taldane people, the Taldane ethnicity, now includes, because they kind of updated, the Cheliax people. They are a sub-ethnicity within the main ethnicity of Taldane. And so these are people that are all connected, for they all live in Arcadia. Whether or not they are more connected through blood or cultural connections, that's a harder thing to say because, yeah. Now, it's an unfortunate thing that I'm going to kind of talk about this here because we don't have a lot of Arcadians that travel to inner sea regions. The Degasi city of Sagada may have been secretly settled by Avasti communities. So that's something to keep that in mind. So it is a connection to those regions and stuff there too. Anyway, so Who do we have? Who do we talk about? Let's talk about, and I'm going to go down the list of known ethnicities and cultural groups that we have in Arcadia. So, again, these are the ones that are mainly known about to us as people running the game, because it's the lore that's been revealed. There is only a few of them. Bulvaris, Kalani, Kaldaru, Kansari, Kurosha, Mawek, I'm going to butcher this one a little bit, Oerfasian, or also kind of sometimes Oerfasian, and Razaltlani. So, we know those names. What do we know about them? Incredibly little. Here's the thing that's the problem. Of these that I listed, 3 I can say a little bit about. 2 I can say even less about. And some of them I can say nothing about, because 3 of them we don't even have places to find any information on them other than name. It's an unfortunate thing that the amount of information on these people is small, and really deals with when they deal with, others. So, who can we talk about? The Kansari. We can talk about the Kansari. They're a group. The thing is, when Ulfin settlers came to Avasti, the continent, the Kansari were the first people that encountered them. Now, I'm going to say, the Ulfin were not kind to them. They have a very derogative name, which I'm not going to say it because the derogative name, technically speaking, isn't used in proper Paizo lore anymore, because they did it originally, and it can have some connotations in the real world, the word that was used. So because of that, it hasn't been used since it originally showed up in canon. So I'm not going to say it now. It's gone from canon. We can just assume they had derogatory terms. It's an unfortunate thing. They were derogatory towards these people they met on the continent. But they're really known as the Kansari. They were originally hostile to the colonists of Valenhall. They attacked with arrows, tomahawks, but a Ulfin disease actually thinned their ranks. So today, the Kansari and the Mawek live in an uneasy balance with the Ulfins and other Avastian settlers. So those people from Avasti and the continent that have settled in there, at least with these 2 groups, are at an uneasy peace. But it took, hostilities, disease, and generations to still get to unease. But again, Ulfins aren't known for being the most friendly at times, so it certainly is understandable they probably didn't get on a great foot with them. Now, as I mentioned them, we do know a little bit of the Mawek people. The thing is, we know they dominate northeastern Arcadia, and because that's a region that is closest to Avastian continent, they are the most well-known of the ethnicities, and seem to be the most populous, at least in that region. The nation of Degasi is mostly comprised of them, and as are 3 other nations that are in a joint trade coalition that protects and regulates the Avasti colonies. So basically, Degasi, which maybe I can look into. I don't know if I can talk about it. There's a couple sentences on it, so there really isn't a lot to talk about there. But it is basically, the nations in that area have formed a trade coalition and are basically, if you want a colony there, you're under our jurisdiction. So, yeah, we can see how well these 2 groups are the ones that have interacted with the Vastian people. That's why we know about them. That's really why we know about them. The other group that we can talk about is the people of Zopatl. I previously did a video on Zopatl, but the Kaldaru people are an Arcadian ethnic group who make up the minority population of Zapata. An immigrant Kaldru population can be found in the city of Sengor in the Molongi Expanse. And many years after making their home there, they only recall that their ancestors came from a distant land, having lost connection with Arcadia, but retaining a lot of the unique culture and language of that region, distinct from the Molongi people that are the majority of the Expanse population. Again, I go to buy stuff on Zapata and the nation there. There's a complexity to the nation, so there's an entire video on it. It's deep, so you can see that there is the Caldera people that are connected to that nation. In appearance, they're tall, with dark or olive skin, straight dark hair, green or blue eyes. They're somewhat similar in appearance to the Lirgeni people who once lived in the northern part of the Sodom. They're also known to be renowned sailors and diplomats, making Senkor a popular place for trade, and skilled engineers who built the city to withstand powerful storms. And the city's Caldera-dominated navy also expertly defends the city from pirates. It does lead some idea that the Caldaru were originally a sea-growing power that lost that kind of connections to it. So we see them have that kind of natural tendency. So maybe they had been populously, like, in some of these smaller Arcadian islands in a sea-growing ethnicity, empire, group that, may have had power in that region over the ages, either pre or post Age of Darkness / Earthfall. But again, there isn't a lot of evidence to this theory. It's only just the societal thing for a people that, we know a little bit about. As I said, then, the only other ones that we see much more mention of than name is the Kalani and the Orphasians, which basically we know a little bit about the areas they're in, and that's about it. That's about it. I can mention them pretty much. The other groups, their names exist in places. They're connected with Arcadia. But it gets to my point about this video, which I wanted to talk about, and why, when I considered doing this video, I had to think about it for a little while. Because originally I was just going to do it because it was a neat topic. But when I got into the actual topic, and was doing more research for it and diving into it, it made me think a lot about it more. Because it's one of those things that I think talking about these regions and having information on them out there, like this, encourages more people to talk about it, be interested in it, and therefore, hey, Paizo might do a book on it. So Zapata's a really neat nation. It's really cool. I really recommend going and checking out that video. I probably should link that somewhere. Maybe I'll link that at the end of this video. I'll remember to do my links to add Zapata also with the last video before this one. But it's a thing that it shows a very interesting and developed continent. Yes, I'm not going to lie. Arcadia and Arcadian people take a lot of influence from where? North, Central, and South America. It's the thing that we have to think about, that Earth exists in the Golarion universe. It's a parallel to Golarion, in a way. It's like in another realm, dimension kind of thing like that. Golarion, in a way, then, mimics us. We see it in a lot of the various regions have cultures that have developed very similar to ours. Those cultures are still very different than our cultures. But we get an idea on the type of cultures because it has comparisons. Hey, Northern Arcadia, very much North America. Central Arcadia, Zapata, very Central America. And of course, Southern Arcadia, South America. Both in the types of environments that are there and the types of people that develop there. But again, these are people that had vastly different histories in a world of magic. So even if there is like a similar core of culture there, it evolved in massively different ways. And it's always interesting to see those mass changes. TMZ, it's very Asia-centric. Drani, very Indian-centric. Garund, very Middle East into African-centric. You know, the southern part of Avastia, very European-centric. Northern part of very Scandinavian-centric. I would love for us to know more about the Arcadian continent and its people. I would love to know all the dozens of different ethnicities that are there, because these ethnicities, as we see in a lot of parts of the world, sometimes they are just, it's an ethnicity of a country. But a lot of times it's an ethnicity of a region. And that ethnicity can spread and intermix, but we see the connections, the differences there. It's like, you know, people from places like in Central America, South America, North America, Europe, Africa, Asia. Your connections to a country and region determine some things about you, about your ethnicity. We all have it as humans on our world. And I love completing the picture of it in the Golarion world, because it's a picture that, like our world, the more we know, the more complete picture we have of what is humanity. And the version of it that exists in our world. And the version of humanity in Golarion. The more we know, the better. Because it's... humans feel like the generic, the milquetoast, the average. That they're always interesting, and being the most populous, you want the whole picture. So I want more of the picture. Let's get an Arcadian book, and some books from some other regions. I've said it more Run books, more Casmaron books, more, you know, all those books. Let's get them, and let's even finally get something that's going to tell us about Sarusan, the goddamn Australia of this world, because we know it exists. More on the crown of the world, you know, things like that. I want to see more. Granted, this place had an extra continent of Aslan and it got nuked, but you know, that was Atlantis. Atlantis got nuked in this world. Anyway, I'll leave it there today, though. After all that kind of jazz, which I went into a little bit of a tirade about wanting some things. Please just make sure to check out all my stuff, and you know, maybe message Paizo, be like, hey, can we get some more books on different regions? The TNZ book, really awesome. You know, the Mwangi Expanse book, really awesome. It would be great to see more of Grund and, you know, Casmaron, and maybe even some of those continents we haven't visited. Great to see more about them. Learn more about them. Make the world bigger, Golarion. More lore. More awesome lore. Social media link below. If you want to see me live, we'll do this over live on Twitch and record it for YouTube. It's Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Thursdays is the Pathfinder day, where I do all the recordings for the week for Pathfinder. I have a live play Pathfinder First Edition on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Crimson Queen. Those catch us live, or later on, it'll go up on YouTube. And same for Discussing Tabletop, which is at 6 on Saturdays. Talk about news of the week, deeper discussions on topics in the world of tabletop, and then we throw it up on YouTube. Alright, that's all the shout-outs I've got. Hey, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed all this. Until the next time we talk about, well, more human ethnicities, more ancestries, more anything related to the world of Golarion, I bid you all a deep and wonderful farewell.